I said that having read through Blake Lively's complaints, that it was evident to me that she was likely under the influence when she filed her complaint.
Well, it's still getting messier and messier in the It Ends With Us feud between co-stars Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni.
Let's set the stage with this. When a Hollywood legend like Denzel Washington decides to speak his mind, you already know it's going to be iconic. But when that honesty is aimed straight at Ryan Reynolds, the internet can't help but ask, what's really going on between these two? Is it just playful banter, or are we talking about a deeper rift? And oh, this is just the beginning, because Ryan's wife, Blake Lively, isn't exactly having the easiest time in Tinseltown either. So buckle up, because we're diving headfirst into the drama.
Supposed to be putting these handcuffs over his head while he's driving, and he was just whipping backwards as I was reaching forward, and pow! First black eye I've ever had in my life.
Let's rewind to 2012. Denzel Washington and Ryan Reynolds were working together on Safe House, an action-packed thriller that brought these two big names onto the same set. For Ryan, this was a dream come true. He couldn't stop gushing in interviews about Denzel, calling him one of the greatest actors of all time. To put it simply, Ryan was in full-on fanboy mode. But Denzel, well, his take on Ryan was, let's just say, a little less glowing. And when Denzel decided to share his thoughts publicly, it wasn't exactly what Ryan or any of us expected.
Back in a, flagon or something, so I was pretty worried about that. But he took it in stride, and we kept shooting, shockingly, and we got the day. But
during an appearance on The Jonathan Ross Show, Denzel was asked about working with Ryan, and his response immediately went viral. Instead of the typical Hollywood sugarcoating, Denzel dropped a savage one-liner that left the audience stunned. When the host mentioned how Ryan had admitted to being so mesmerized by Denzel's acting that he sometimes forgot to deliver his own lines, Denzel didn't miss a beat. "Oh, is that what it was?" he quipped before casually adding, "I just thought he was terrible." And the kicker, Denzel delivered this with such a straight face that no one could tell if he was joking. The camera even caught fellow guest Tom Hardy nearly spitting out his drink in shock. The audience laughed nervously, but the tension in the room was palpable.
And I remember they called cut, and I looked back, and oh man, he had a shiner this big, and I just thought, well, this is the end of me. This is the moment that Denzel Washington turns me into a liquid.
Now, if this was a one-off remark, we could chalk it up to Denzel's dry sense of humor. But here's where things get interesting. This wasn't the first time Denzel had thrown shade at Ryan. In fact, there's a bit of a pattern here. During another interview, when asked about his experience working with Ryan on Safe House, Denzel didn't exactly rush to sing his co-star's praises. Instead, he paused, smiled awkwardly, and said nothing. Let's be real. In Hollywood, silence often speaks louder than words. And when Denzel likes someone, he doesn't hold back. Just look at how he's spoken about people like Viola Davis or Chadwick Boseman. His admiration is obvious. With Ryan, though, that energy just isn't there.
You're not kidding when you say this is getting messier. The author of that book deleting her Instagram account, another who plays Baldoni's sister in the film, being harassed online.
Of course, some might argue that Denzel's comments were all in good fun. But for Ryan, the Safe House set wasn't all laughs. In fact, he's admitted that his time filming with Denzel came with its fair share of awkward moments. Case in point, the infamous black eye incident. During a particularly intense fight scene, Ryan accidentally hit Denzel twice. Yep, you heard that right. Not once, but twice. Ryan later joked about the mishap, saying he was certain his career was over. "I'm going to be sent home via crematorium," he quipped during an interview, adding that he was sure Denzel would turn him into a liquid. While Denzel brushed it off at the time, you can't help but wonder if that incident left a mark both literally and figuratively. But here's where things get even messier. While Ryan was out there trying to salvage his reputation with Denzel, other Hollywood heavyweights were also chiming in, and not in the most flattering way. Quentin Tarantino, for example, didn't hold back when asked about Ryan's movies. Instead of praising him, Tarantino dismissed his entire filmography as forgettable, even going so far as to say that none of Ryan's movies exist in the zeitgeist. And Gerard Butler, he didn't mince words either, laughing off comparisons between Ryan's blockbuster Free Guy and his own action film Gamer. "I don't even know what that is," Gerard said with a smirk. When even your peers in the action genre are throwing shade, it's hard not to take notice.
We can now all agree that the moral crimes committed here by Ryan Reynolds against Justin Baldoni have amounted to high treason.
Now, let's talk about Ryan's reputation in Hollywood. Sure, he's a fan favorite thanks to his razor-sharp wit and charming personality, but when it comes to industry respect, the story seems a bit different. Behind the scenes, there's been chatter about Ryan being overly controlling on set. Just look at the fallout with Deadpool director Tim Miller, who walked away from the sequel after clashing with Ryan over creative control. According to reports, Ryan's insistence on having the final say led to tensions that couldn't be resolved. And while Deadpool remains one of his biggest successes, the behind-the-scenes drama hasn't exactly helped his image.
have got some major scoops. I mean, everybody's talking because the sink is shipping and people want to get onto lifeboats. So let's jump right in. Welcome back to Candace.
But Ryan's not the only one facing some major Hollywood turbulence. Enter Blake Lively, who's been navigating her own share of controversies. From feuds with former co-stars to questionable career choices, Blake's once bright star power seems to be dimming. Remember her iconic role as Serena in Gossip Girl? Turns out things weren't so glamorous behind the scenes. Reports of tension between Blake and her co-star Lyta Meester have resurfaced, painting a picture of two actresses who barely tolerated each other. And while Blake has tried to distance herself from the drama, it's hard to ignore the whispers of friction that have followed her throughout her career.
So I'm just going to very quickly, before I give you all of the tea that I got over the weekend, I'm going to go over the biggest revelations from the filing.
Then there's the fashion icon angle. Blake has always been known for her impeccable style, but even that seems to be losing its shine. At recent high-profile events like the Bulgaria Anniversary Gala, Blake was noticeably overshadowed by other A-listers like Zendaya and Anne Hathaway. And let's not forget the backlash surrounding her upcoming film, It Ends With Us. Fans were quick to criticize her casting as Lily Bloom, arguing that she was too old for the role. The leaked set photos, complete with an orange wig that trended for all the wrong reasons, only added fuel to the fire.
With you. Like, he literally tells Ryan he wants to be friends with you. And I could just see Ryan sitting there like, yes, this is exactly what I want, a puppy to kick in the mouth. And you'll do what I say.
And if all that wasn't enough, Blake is now embroiled in a legal battle with her. It Ends With Us co-star and director Justin Baldoni. The allegations flying back and forth have turned this into one of Hollywood's most talked about scandals. Blake has accused Baldoni of creating a toxic work environment, while Baldoni has fired back with claims of defamation and extortion. The drama has even dragged in names like Taylor Swift, who's reportedly being subpoenaed to testify. It's a messy situation that's only further complicating Blake's already precarious position in Hollywood.
Genuinely, Steph, if you're watching this, I genuinely don't like Blake Lively. Like, I genuinely know. I've known she's a brat. Nobody's paying me to say this.
So where does this leave Hollywood's once favorite power couple? With Denzel seemingly unimpressed by Ryan, Blake facing legal battles and public scrutiny, and both of them skipping major award shows, it's hard not to wonder if their A-list glow is starting to fade. Are we witnessing the downfall of one of Hollywood's most beloved duos? Or is this just a rough patch that they'll eventually bounce back from? And more importantly, how does all this behind-the-scenes drama affect their standing in an industry that thrives on perception and an industry that thrives on perception and relationships? As the dust continues to settle, one thing's for sure. There's a lot more to unpack. Blake's legal issues are far from over, and Ryan's Hollywood reputation seems to be hanging by a thread. But what happens when personal drama starts to overshadow professional achievements? And is there any way for this couple to reclaim their spot at the top of the Hollywood hierarchy? That's exactly what we're diving into next. Stay tuned because the legal twists and career fallout are just getting started.
And one of the most significant allegations in Baldoni's lawsuit is that Lively sought to gain control over the editing process of the film.
Let's dive right into it because things are only heating up. If you thought the drama surrounding Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively was already messy, you're in for a ride. As if public shade from Hollywood legends and career missteps weren't enough, the legal battle Blake is currently embroiled in with her It Ends With Us co-star and director Justin Baldoni is shaping up to be one of the most explosive Hollywood feuds in recent memory. And trust us, this isn't just a simple he said, she said situation. This is a full-blown war with lawsuits flying in every direction, dragging in everyone from co-stars to Taylor Swift herself. So let's break it all down and figure out where this leaves Blake, Ryan, and their ever-shifting place in Hollywood.
Now you have two sides here, right? So Baldoni says this was all an effort to hijack the film to get her way. Lively claims she was the victim of harassment in a hostile work environment.
It all started with what was supposed to be a major milestone in Blake's career, her starring role as Lily Bloom in the much-anticipated adaptation of Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel, It Ends With Us. Fans were hyped. The book had a massive following, and Blake landing the lead role seemed like the perfect recipe for a comeback. But almost immediately, things started to go south. First, there was backlash over Blake's casting. At 37, critics argued she was too old to convincingly play a character fresh out of college. Then came those disastrous set photos. Blake's bright orange wig became the talk of the internet, with fans roasting everything from the styling to the overall vibe. Some even joked that she looked like she was auditioning to be the mascot for a fast food chain. Harsh, right? But the real chaos started once filming wrapped and Blake went public with some shocking allegations about her experience on set. In December of 2024, Blake filed a formal complaint against Baldoni, accusing him of inappropriate behavior and creating what she described as a hostile work environment. According to Blake, Baldoni improvised unscripted moments that made her uncomfortable, entered her trailer without permission, and made inappropriate comments during filming. She also claimed that these incidents extended beyond her, alleging that other cast members were made to feel uneasy as well.
Creepy Baldoni. getting close to her, obviously making small chatter not in character so as not to make the scene, which didn't require dialogue, awkward.
Of course, Baldoni wasn't about to take these accusations lying down. Within weeks, he hit back with a countersuit, not only denying Blake's claims, but accusing her of trying to sabotage his reputation. He alleged that it was Blake, not him, who had made the set difficult, citing examples of her demanding behavior and even claiming that she tried to exclude him from the movie's premiere. In his lawsuit, Baldoni described a meeting at Blake and Ryan's penthouse in New York City as traumatic, alleging that Ryan berated him in front of their guests and demanded an apology for Blake. And if you think that's messy, wait until you hear who else has been dragged into this.
Literally, I'm just asking the question, like, how are women allowed to do this, to take something and to make it sound like you survived a, because that's what it sounded like to the public.
Enter Taylor Swift, Blake's longtime friend and the godmother to her children. Baldoni's legal team has subpoenaed Taylor to testify, claiming she's a key figure in this saga. Why? According to Baldoni, Blake leaned on her mega-celebrity friend for support during production, and there are even alleged text messages where Blake refers to Taylor and Ryan as her dragons, ready to protect her at all costs. In one particularly eyebrow-raising message, Blake reportedly compared herself to a fantasy queen, saying, "I'm Khaleesi, and I happen to have a few dragons. For better or worse, but usually for better or worse, but usually for better. You will too, I can promise you." It's wild, right? But it doesn't stop there. Baldoni's team is also alleging that Taylor was involved in script rewrites and that her influence may have contributed to tensions on set. Now, let's take a step back and think about what this means for Blake and Ryan. When you're in the middle of a legal firestorm like this, it's not just your reputation at stake, it's your entire career. Blake's lawsuit has divided public opinion, with some fans rallying around her and others accusing her of using the controversy for attention. To make matters worse, several of her co-stars from It Ends With Us have remained noticeably silent, while others, like Brandon Sklenar, have awkwardly dodged questions about her in interviews. Jenny Slate, however, has publicly voiced her support, calling Blake a loyal friend and a leader. But even with that endorsement, the silence from other cast members speaks volumes.
Now, I will say, it is also interesting that the defendants in this answer also admit that they sent text messages. I mean, when Lively produced copies of these text messages that she got through a subpoena, there's really nowhere else to go on that. You got to admit that you sent these, but it doesn't mean that Baldoni and the other defendants will agree to the context or the characterization that was laid out by Blake Lively, for instance.
And then there's the issue of timing. The lawsuit isn't set to go to trial until 2026, meaning this drama is going to hang over Blake's career for years. In the meantime, she's facing mounting scrutiny from both fans and the industry. Her recent projects, like the Flower Shop Love Triangle movie, The Making of, haven't exactly done much to boost her standing. Critics have panned her choices as uninspired, and it seems like the buzz around her name is fading fast. Even her fashion game, once a staple of red carpets, seems to be losing its edge, with Zendaya and Anne Hathaway stealing the spotlight at recent events.
Also provided a cease and desist letter, asking them to cease, quote, all unlawful conduct, namely what they alleged is the, quote, harassing and retaliatory media and online campaign against Miss Lively.
But what about Ryan? Surely, as one half of Hollywood's golden couple, he's feeling the heat too. And let's not forget that Ryan has his own challenges when it comes to navigating Hollywood politics. While his Deadpool franchise continues to thrive, his reputation off-screen has taken a hit. From his fallout with Deadpool director Tim Miller to the shade thrown by Denzel Washington and other industry icons, it's clear that not everyone in Hollywood is in Ryan's corner. And now, with Blake's legal woes dominating headlines, it's hard not to wonder if this will have a ripple effect on his career.
Look at this scene that was captured on tape, you'll see there's nothing nefarious going on. She says this actually proves her point. There's an argument that she is hiding her discomfort with what he's saying and doing, and she's just trying to finish the scene like any kind of professional. Which way you take it, which way you perceive it, again, that'll be up to a jury or the fact finder.
Let's not forget that Ryan is also named in one of Baldoni's lawsuits. Baldoni has accused Ryan of pressuring talent agencies to drop him as a client and claims that Ryan crossed a line by allegedly meddling in his professional relationships. Whether or not these claims hold up in court, the very fact that Ryan is being accused of this kind of behavior could damage his reputation. Hollywood is a business built on relationships, and if Ryan is perceived as someone who uses his influence to settle personal scores, it could make collaborators think twice about working with him.
They say Friedman may even be violating the New York rules of professional conduct for lawyers by doing all this. Quote, his conduct threatens to and will materially prejudice both the Lively case and the Wayfarer case by tainting the jury pool because his statements are deliberately aimed at undermining the character, credibility, and reputation of numerous relevant parties.
So where does this leave them? For Blake, The immediate challenge is surviving the legal battle with Baldoni. Winning the lawsuit would be a major victory, but even that might not be enough to fully restore her reputation. The public tends to have a short memory when it comes to celebrity scandals, but the industry, not so much. Directors, producers, and studios are all watching this unfold, and they're taking notes. If Blake comes out of this looking like a liability, it could seriously limit her opportunities moving forward. As for Ryan, he's at a crossroads. He's managed to build an empire with his business ventures, from owning a soccer team to selling aviation gin for a jaw-dropping amount. But Hollywood is still his bread and butter, and the cracks in his public image could start to show if he doesn't handle this situation carefully. The next Deadpool movie will likely be a box office hit, but beyond that, Ryan needs to prove that he's more than just a one-trick pony. And with Denzel Washington and Quentin Tarantino practically rolling their eyes at his career, it's clear he has some work to do in winning over the industry's elite.
That Justin won't be bullied by Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. So his lawyer told us that their recent court filings show how scared they are.
The real question, though, is whether Blake and Ryan can weather the storm together. Hollywood loves a comeback story, but it's equally quick to turn its back on those who fall out of favor. Can they rebuild their reputations and reclaim their status as one of Hollywood's most beloved power couples? Or are we witnessing the beginning of the end for Blake and Ryan's time at the top? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, this drama isn't going away anytime soon. And let's not forget the broader implications here. Blake and Ryan's situation is shining a spotlight on how Hollywood handles scandals, lawsuits, and public perception. Is the industry evolving to be more transparent, or is it still a game of who can control the narrative? How will this legal battle shape the future of celebrity culture, and what does it say about the power dynamics at play behind the scenes? These are the questions that will keep us all hooked as this saga continues to unfold. So, what do you think? Are Blake and Ryan victims of Hollywood's cutthroat nature, or have they played a part in their own downfall? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the juiciest celebrity scandals. Until next time,